We've got a couple of people. Hey, Brad's here.
Hello.
Hey, man. What's going on?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I wore this for you.
I appreciate it. I'm thrilled. I was fearing you might have turned into a Mets fan or something like that, right?
No way, man. Like I watched the Bisons here play because they're in
Nice.
Buffalo and
Right.
they're a Blue Jays franchise.
Right.
But when they were a Mets team, like I didn't go. That season, I just didn't go. So I was just letting people know what's kind of going on with us here at Tomrick and some stuff coming up. But
Great.
you know, obviously
Go for
we're
it.
here to talk to you today. Look at that background. That background's like all sassy and like Cocoa Potified.
You know, I figured this is my first Instagram Live. I might as well jazz it up a little, right?
You're the man. Cool. So, hey, so I'll let you introduce yourself because you know your bio better than me. But Brad is the Chief Chocolate Officer. Is that the official title?
Yeah, Chief Chocolate Maker. Yeah.
At Cho Chocolate. Did I get that pronunciation right? Like I worry about it. Like there are people in our office who still call it TCHO.
Yeah, my dad does too sometimes. So don't worry about it. It's Cho. The T's silent. Yeah.
Like so somebody was talking about it because like I guess you guys are looking at a piece of equipment from us and we were on a call the other day and they're like, yeah, so TCHO, and I'm like,
Right.
who are you talking to? Because is that Cho or who
No, that's
is
us.
it?
Yeah, that's us.
Cool, but you have kind of a cool story. So you've been in chocolate for a while, and anyway, so I don't want to take away your story. So you can tell your story about how you got where you got, and then so everybody knows if this is your first time tuning in, we'll probably talk a little bit about the world right now. Brad and I had a brief chat yesterday, and we threatened to talk about Philadelphia for at least 5 minutes. You know, maybe a little Mike Schmidt talk. Steve
There we
Carlton.
go. Oh, man, I love it.
Because both of us probably left Philly around the same time, never to return.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we're going to talk some about chocolate, and we'll talk about bean to bar. You know, I know you're particularly passionate about sensory and finding a solution for that. And I actually had a question come in yesterday afternoon that somebody didn't want me to tell them who it was, and it was kind of like a little funky question for the industry right now. But we'll see if we can weave that into our conversation.
Sure.
We'll probably be here for the next 45 minutes or so. And look, people are digging Philly talk, so pop
All right, yeah.
63. I'm a Philadelphia fan from like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when did you leave Philly? Because
I left Philly in '94.
So you're about 5 years younger than me because you went away for your like senior year in high school or something.
Yeah. My whole family moved from Philadelphia to London, England, and
watched a lot of cricket.
A little bit of cricket. Yeah, Queen's Cricket Grounds, not too far. Cricket and all kinds of strange stuff over there that was very interesting at that time and still is. But I grew up in outside of Philly. I guess I'll give you the kind of the medium version. You know, kind of grew up in heavily sports saturated Philly. Was a big sports fan, but definitely was a little bit. I was a little bit different. I was pretty into plants. Even at a young age. So just sort of had a passion for everything vegetative, and just had a sort of had that built into me. Ended up going away. Graduated from high school in London, which was an amazing experience. And but
it wasn't high school then. It was like secondary school or something.
Well, yeah, it was like
primary school or like.
It was it's a funny system they have over there. Actually, I ended up doing my final year at a like an Americanized school, and just because it was so wonky.
So nothing like Hogwarts.
Nothing like Hogwarts, not so much. Yeah, I wish I would have loved that.
That was my dumb American comment for the day, right? Like all schools have to be exactly like Hogwarts.
Yeah, but
were you the prefect, Brad? I mean, were you the prefect, and you you lived in a house and.
No,
sorry. I took you off track. You're telling me
No, it's all good. I haven't actually. I'm not familiar with the Potter series as much. So yeah, I got to get into it. I've got a kid now, so
how old?
He's 6. He's 6. So.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
I'm
right there, right? I'm in the sweet spot, right? Yeah, that's what I've been told. So, Anyway, London was amazing. Anyway, ended up going back to the States, went to school at University of Vermont, ran the student organic farm there for a few years, which was an amazing, plant experience. I studied botany. I was way into like the Vermont landscape, which is not too far from where, well, it's far, but sort of a similar climate, the North Woods where you guys are. And just still, that's like home to me, that area, that part of the world. So just love it. Mixed, coniferous, hardwood forests up there, just beautiful. But ended up finding myself in a situation where I was very happily studying sugar maples. Was in kind of somewhere in the late 90s, was wandering around a remote area of Vermont with a GPS backpack and a 14-foot antenna to geomark some sugar maple trees and kind of like get an idea, doing some mapping work. And it's a few feet of snow. I'm wearing snowshoes. I'd been out there for about a month by myself, just not much else, just a lot of beautiful, quiet snow, and February-ish, and just had like a bit of an epiphany, like, hey, actually, this is very cool, but maybe there's some warmer climates that I could, study plants. And so sort of went back and thought, oh, okay, well, we got this professor, he's an expert in tropical botany, sort of switched all my focus to that, ended up just falling in love with cacao over the course of a couple of years, through a bunch of trips down to, botanical trips down to Costa Rica and that sort of thing. Right. And then, just like a lot of us that are maybe on this call, I just,
one thing led to another.
Yeah. Just caught the cocoa bug, it just was, just kind of hooked me, fell in love with the tree. I was also at a place where I was studying, sort of like evolutionary relationships and, of plants, and it's super fascinating, but it's, there's millions and millions of plants. So, I just felt like I wanted to focus on one.
Right.
And it was cool because cocoa, like, sort of course, has, chocolate associated with it. It's not like a fern that no one has never ever heard of or anything like that, which is one of the things I was working on, and what actually brought me down to Mexico. For a professor, I was looking for these rare ferns in Oaxaca, Mexico, and one thing led to another. I ended up staying down in Mexico for about Mexico, Central America, and Brazil, and just ended up staying down there and working on cocoa farms for about 10 months. In about, I guess that was probably about 2001 or something like that. So, yeah, that sort of just before that, after I graduated from University of Vermont, but just before that trip, though, where I really worked on, kind of really learned about cacao, fermentation, drying, genetics, all that stuff. Right before that, though, I had an amazing opportunity where the day I graduated, I started working at Lake Champlain Chocolate. And
which interesting, because it's a small world, right? Because it's a really, really tiny world. Lake Champlain Chocolate is like has been a Talmer customer for like ever, right? And so all those guys are good friends with my boss, and like, well, let's see what Lake Champlain thinks, like, before like we can like do anything. Like, well, somebody pick up the phone and call Lake Champlain, see what they think about this, and see if they have a use for that. And I mean, they're, I think they're in this with all of us right now, right? And having some challenges and all that stuff. But so, like, what did you do at Lake Champlain?
Well, I actually was the first job I had. I ran their retail store. I managed their retail store at their factory. So
it's a little bigger now, probably.
It is a little bit, but we did tours
windows,
and everything. Yeah, big windows. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was just a dream come true. I was working in the store, but then of course I was exactly those windows. I was plastered against the windows, wishing I was in the factory working and learning more about chocolate. So it transferred into the factory, and I basically worked as an R&D assistant. Washing dishes, doing everything, making batches of caramel, 65 gallon batches of caramel, and all these sorts of things. Yeah, amazing. Like, got to learn.
How long were you at Lake Champlain?
I was there for, I think, about a year.
Cool.
And then,
so, not to tell your story, so now you've got kind of like some confection and chocolate thing, and now you're like learning about Theobroma Cacao.
Yeah, exactly.
That's about as much botany as you're going to get from me. Oh,
no, it's good. Yeah.
And it's cauliflory.
Cauliflory, yes. Cauliflory.
And there's only like three other types of trees in the world that are like cauliflory, right?
Yeah, there's not too many. There's maybe more than three, but there's not many. Yeah, it's
basically
pretty,
all that means is
it's pretty cool.
Of the tree grows directly out. They flower out of the trunks and larger branches of the tree.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And so it's not like your common cherry or apple.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like chocolate's cool. Like chocolate's its own little like.
It's a
subcategory, right?
It's a very peculiar little plant, and it's definitely one of the things that that attracted me early on. So anyway, just
sorry,
fell in love with it.
I had to like show how big a brain I had. That's like the only botany fact I know.
Oh, I love it. No, that's about all I can remember these days. But the plant. Yeah. So anyway, went
so
to
you
like
spent all this time
Champlain
in Central and South America learning about the plant,
mm-hmm.
and then you come back to the United States.
Came back to the United States, and actually, my parents had moved from London to San Francisco, so I was visiting them, and found out about Michael Ricciuti and Sharpen Burger was
he's a punk.
He's definitely a punk.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Another Philly punk.
I know, I've been looking to see if he's been on a couple times in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, maybe I should have like scrolled through and make sure he wasn't on before I called Mike. Like the King Mac Daddy, Michael Ricciuti, a punk.
Yeah, I know. No,
but I'll tell you know what, I'll text him when we're done and tell him I called him a punk, and that you agreed with me.
I love it. Yeah, he's the man, and had the opportunity to work for him for several months, just sort of a little apprenticeship, cool. and then started working at Sharpen Burger in 2002 or 2003, I think it was, and Sharpen Burger,
pre-Hershey.
Pre-Hershey, yep. I was there. It was basically, a small group, and we were just trying to figure out what the heck was going on with cocoa. We were exploring the world, looking at all different kinds of cocoa. Didn't have a lot of deep chocolate background, any of us. John Scharfenberg was a winemaker. Robert Steinberg was a physician. I had a little bit of experience at the farm level. Yeah, I studied botany and, was passionate about that. So I kind of was the bean guy and, kind of would travel all over tropics, Central America, Caribbean, South America, just working with farmers, directly with farmers to try to figure out this whole, flavor thing, really. They were, John Scharfenberger and Robert Steinberg, the founders of Scharfenberger, and many others there. They're just really passionate about flavor, trying to unlock what creates these different flavors. And as we all know, cocoa's, so similar in a lot of ways to things like wine, like coffee. They're very different, of course, but when you look at it, it's it's a matter of genetics, it's a matter of raw materials, it's a matter of how it's processed. And so finding out more information about that is, especially at that time, was really challenging. There wasn't a lot of research that had been done. So I still think we're probably 20, 30 years behind things like coffee and beer and wine, in terms of our understanding, right? Yeah, and on a consumer level and on a technical level, even something like genetics, we're just barely beginning to kind of put the pieces together. So, yeah, it's a fascinating. Actually, that's one of the most frustrating things about chocolate. My chocolate career probably is like not being able to go online or go to a library and find the book that has all the answers, knowing. But it's also the biggest, the biggest draw for me, and the most intellectually interesting thing is just being able to just kind of be able to ask simple questions that have been answered in wine and beer and other industries years ago. Being able to ask those questions and being able to like really kind of find our own answers in some ways. Right. So yeah, and then I was at Scharfenberger few years. Then Hershey bought the company in 2005. Then I was with Hershey for 4 years, and that was actually overall phenomenal experience. I really just took a deep dive into the big world of chocolate and understanding real science methods and having a lot of resources and then I was actually going to move back to Pennsylvania, and decided to sort of maybe stick around the Bay Area. And so I looked around for an opportunity here, and Cho was hiring. That was 2009. So I started with Cho just over 10 years ago now, 11 years now. And been there for that time, and CHO had started, a year or two before that, a couple of years earlier, and it's been a wild ride at CHO here. Just lots of learning continues, and
Right.
we were acquired 2 years ago by a large family-run Japanese confectionery company.
Right.
And so that's been another phenomenal, like, kind of interesting experience.
Apparently it's you. It's like you like if you'd stayed at like Lake Champlain longer, they would have been acquired by like M&M Mars or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they're great on their own, but yeah.
So
anyway.
What is it? So what does a day look like for you at CHO?
Well,
I know they're not all the same. That's
every day's a little different.
What did today look like? I mean, today obviously the world's kind of got everything in a dither. But like, what did today look like? What else are you doing today?
Actually, today I was talking with some machine manufacturers in Europe this morning. This afternoon, I've got some calls with some for the Fine Chocolate Industry Association related things.
And I want to get to that too, because Brad, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, you are currently the president of the FCIA.
President of the board, yeah. Yep, exactly.
So the FCIA mandate is really to help those of us in the industry that are making premium chocolate, whether that's bean to bar chocolate or confectioners, to learn more. Like, I mean, I think education seems to be like a theme with you. And also to help educate everybody else about that, right? So, by the way, Kat's saying that she misses you. I think she misses you specifically.
Oh, Miss Kat. Hi, Kat. Yeah. So yeah, FCA is awesome. It's been around since 2007. It's changed every single year. As the industry has grown. As things have changed. But yeah, our primary focus is just, kind of bringing people together, bringing different ideas together, being able to share them, having a forum to be able to educate each other, and really ultimately just be able to move it forward a little bit in terms of the quality of chocolate, right? So just helping people, consumers, be able to appreciate the beauty that can be when you have an awesome quality chocolate. And, that's defined in a lot of different ways. Beer, coffee, they actually have a very clear definition of quality. With chocolate, it's a little bit undefined, but, we can talk a little bit more about that if you want. But basically go for it.
No, go ahead. I was gonna interrupt, and I was gonna ask you my pedestrian question of the day, and that's what's your favorite candy bar you can buy at a 7-Eleven?
Favorite candy bar at 7-Eleven? Chocolate?
It doesn't have to be. I mean, but I'm thinking,
Yeah. I'm actually my wife makes fun of me for this, but I like Twizzlers. She thinks they taste like red raincoats. Red plastic raincoats, but I'm a big fan. But I think in terms of candy bars, the Hershey has one that's called Take 5. I don't know if you've tried that one. It's like pretzels, and I think the Pennsylvanian in me appreciates the inclusion.
See,
of the pretzel.
I was worried that we were talking too much about premium chocolate. I wanted us to
let's step back. Oh yeah, I definitely am not. There's a place for every kind of candy. I love all kinds of candy. For sure.
I'm a Kit Kat bar guy. Personally.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I will admit that I do prefer a Kit Kat bar made in Europe than a Kit Kat bar made in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But I still will eat my weight in Kit Kat bars. I still steal them all out of my daughter's Halloween bag.
Yeah.
I hide them away.
Love it. Yeah, actually, I'd one of the earliest real conscious moments of really being aware of a candy bar or a chocolate bar was Cadbury's Fruit and Nut Bar, and I had that in England, and it definitely tastes a little different in England than it does in the States. But it's
my girlfriend used to live right out of college, lived in London. So it's probably about when you were there, because we're about 5 years apart. So this would have been 93, 94.
Yeah.
And no one had any money, like none, no money, right? And like I was technically not allowed to be there, right? Like every time I would come and go, I'd get questioned by like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm going to visit my girlfriend." Again, is she English? No, she's an American. How is she working? Right? And yes, Susan, everyone is a fruit and nut case. But so like she would work and she worked in this pub and I would like live upstairs and like, you know, we would save enough money to like go out to dinner with friends. And like you'd be on the tube on the way home, right? And you'd be like digging in your pockets and like, do I have a 1 pound coin so I can get like one Sweetum on the way home?
Oh yeah.
And I liked the Cadbury Flake.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
But there was nothing there, right? So you're buying, you're spending. So that was the whole argument. Like, okay, so if we spend £1 for this, and we split it, we each get like an ounce of chocolate. Versus if we get like that something else from Cadbury, like it weighed like 8 pounds, right? And it was a better value for the pound.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Like it weighed 8 pounds, but it cost £1. Anyway.
I love it.
You know, so,
I love it. Yeah.
So
no, there's, London's got even only gotten more expensive, but it was expensive back then too.
Right, but like the whole candy, like it was so weird to me to see like these candy vending machines on the train station platforms, right? It just it was like I do not understand, but this is fabulous. I love this. This is great.
Right.
Because even then, like pre chocolate for me, like I love chocolate. Like chocolate's always been. It's always been part of the gig, right?
Right. Yeah, interesting. You've always loved it. Yeah.
You know, like growing up in Philadelphia too. Like my grandmother, like I swear there was like this coconut egg that lived on the coffee table from like the beginning of Lent until like a month after Easter, right? That you like sliced off a piece, and it had to be like Frankfurt Candies or somebody. Like
yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like sugar.
Actually,
it was like
I
sugar
definitely
and coconut.
remember that. Yes, yeah. I remember those eggs.
Big
and ones,
like,
right?
Oh yeah, they were like ostrich, and they were cut in half, right? And then they were enrobed, and you slice off a slice.
Right.
And like you were allowed one slice when that was going on.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's fascinating.
Hey, so Brad, we got to say hi to somebody. So Kate Weiser, Kate Weiser just popped in, and like I'm saying hi because like Kate is joining us in 2 weeks. So
awesome.
like. She's probably trying to get a lowdown on like what we're gonna like what she and I are gonna talk about in 2 weeks.
Kate, it's not too bad.
It's her marketing person like going, Kate, I don't know if this was a good decision. Like, are you sure you want to talk online with that guy? So you can let her know that all is well. Like I haven't asked any like really hard questions, right?
24 minutes in, it's going fine. I think we're doing all right.
And so, so we're talking about chocolate. Like, so you've always had. I mean, you discovered this passion for chocolate in the jungle of like Mexico. Really.
Yeah.
Is that where you think you really developed? I mean, like, where does it? Is that where it came from?
You know, I think it was. So it's definitely like, you know, my aunt lived near Hershey, Pennsylvania as a kid. So I used to go out and visit her and go on the factory tour of Hershey.
Pre or post those little cars?
Pre cars, like you mean the cars where you went through the greenhouse and there was cocoa trees?
Yeah. See, I don't think I was there. I mean, I was there when I was little. Like, I remember being there. Like, I remember, like, the whole, it smells like chocolate.
Yeah. And
I remember, like, going on the tours, but, like, I was there again when? Like, I went with my daughter, like, when she was, like, 7 or 8.
Oh, okay,
and it's just, like, it's not what I remember. It's not as it's, like, so pre-packaged now. It's, like...
Oh, it's like a Disneyland right now. Yeah. It's really,
You know, you know who's doing that? It's, like, the quality guys. The quality guys are like, we're not showing you what we really do.
Yeah. Yeah, they pipe in, like, chocolate smells throughout the facility. And, it's a great place. It's definitely different from what I remember going there. But that was definitely early, a bit of an early dawn of, you know, interest in chocolate. But I mean, what kid isn't interested in chocolate, I think. But I definitely remember riding on like they had like a little train that went through a greenhouse. And in the greenhouse, they had some real cocoa trees growing. And that was, I didn't realize it then, I don't think, but it was definitely like, you know, that left an impression of some sort. But the other thing that really got me was, that really was kind of the beginning of it all, probably was the, you know, I was studying botany, loved plants, but, you know, for 5 months of the year in the the Northlands, it's like, there's no new growth. It's all, frozen solid, frigid. And I would get out as much as I could, but I had a little respite going to the Montreal Botanical Gardens, which was only about an hour and a half from where I lived in Vermont. So I would drive up there, and they had a beautiful conservatory, like a big greenhouse that's like beautifully curated. They had orchids everywhere. They had tropical plants everywhere, and they had an economic economic importance botany section. So they had like a coffee tree and different things, but they had a cocoa tree that was like quite developed and probably about 20 or 30 feet high. And that was definitely like when I saw it for the first time, that I could remember anyway. That hit me for sure.
I can't tell. I'm struggling to tell whether like plants are cooler than chocolate or chocolate's cooler than plants. I mean, it's definitely like chocolate plants are cooler than both.
It's a
cooler than both
twofer.
in your world.
It's a twofer.
But
yeah.
You're kind of like you're on this like line about plants are like the coolest thing in my world, and chocolate's the coolest thing in my world, right?
Yeah. Yep. I definitely I love them both. So, and I think. And, chocolate is, looking at a plant like cacao, you're able to see how the world works through the lens of that plant, right? Through the lens of chocolate, whether it's like global economics, whether it's, biochemistry, whether it's physics, machinery that so much of your world. I mean, you're really able to see so many different parts of the world. And so it's just a constantly fascinating, sort of hole that you can go down into. And
I definitely am not the science kid, right? Like, growing up, I was the humanities, like science. I was the history and poli sci. Sure. I have a poli sci degree.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Put it in perspective.
That's great.
Like, no, not really. I mean, it's cool for me, but like, like I don't use it very often.
Right.
Well, except for when I'm like, going on a rant on Facebook or something. But, so I wasn't a science guy. And I think what I find really incredible about, how our worlds go where they go, right? Like the paths that we take. I use science and engineering and math all the time. Like, it's kind of like, it's, we could sit back and have a conversation about formulating a ganache recipe, and really it's about emulsification and fat and all of that stuff. And I think, I do a little bean to bar stuff too, right? I mean, we have a line of bean to bar equipment, and like how critical, formula and like understanding kind of what you're talking about. I think that's a really great way of looking at it. Like terroir matters, and process matters, and, all that stuff is super important. Like somebody asked before, like there was a question really early on, like about what kind of cocoa butter do they use, right? And I don't know if you're going to share that, and you don't have to. That's up to you. But like that does matter, right? Like in my head, like where I source cocoa butter from, it's a fat. What do I care, right? The fact that I now know that it's a triglyceride and a multi-chain, like I can get into that kind of conversation too. But like how it works, if I get cocoa butter from Southeast Asia, and I get cocoa butter from South America, they provide fat, right? But they also act differently, right? And so there's this piece about like trying to figure out how it functions in application, right?
Absolutely,
so how an ingredient functions in application that becomes intuitive, right? Like there's stuff that probably from all those experiences that you're talking about, and somebody just put up, but those with a science background may offer a different perspective when it comes to possibilities, right? But like there's this thing that all those things that we bring to the table, right? Like my 10 years of slogging in restaurants before I finally decided I wanted to become a pastry chef, right? Is really important, right? So like your botany, I mean, truth be told, you're probably not using it most days. I mean, it's not
a lot of it.
Right. I mean, you're help, but you help source, like you help source beans.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
You know, there's a piece there that you have more understanding than I do, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. From a botany perspective. Right.
Right.
But how that translates to a product that you guys create is totally different, right? I mean,
totally different. Yeah.
Like for example, like what's your favorite chocolate that you guys have ever made? Where's it from, and like what's cool about it?
Well, you know, I think from a product development perspective, you know, it helps to understand it's critical to understand the raw materials and what you're able to use, and you know what would actually work and what wouldn't work. Sometimes it's actually great when you don't understand that stuff, because you'll take risks and you'll do things that would never seem to be able to work, but you'll just keep hammering on it until you figure out some way to do it. And I definitely live in both worlds there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of you know, product development process and you know, favorite products, you know, I think I think one of the unique things about CHO, for example, is that we're a pretty small company. So in a bigger company like Hershey or Glico, you know, our current parent company, you definitely have a little bit more compartmentalization of people and what they do and how they do it. And so I think the challenge is like creating communication between all those people. And in a company like CHO, we still have those same challenges, but a lot of it is, you know, just a few of us that are kind of making a lot of the decisions. And so it can be, you know, we see each other in the office, or at least we did, you know, as of a couple months ago. And we just talk about things. We talk about new products. We talk about things that are interesting, things that other people are doing. And all of those things, you know, create this sort of, you know, a cloud of an idea that, you know, ultimately yields different products. And, you know, in the past, we haven't relied on data very much to help make our decision.
You don't want to tell me your favorite product.
Oh, no.
You're like, come on.
My favorite product is the one that makes us the most money. But no, no kidding. But no, I think maybe my personal favorite product is we make a hazelnut bar. And so my favorite confection is on gianduja. So, you know, hazelnut, milk chocolate, you could probably make an epic one. But the challenge with gianduja is that it's like very soft, right? And so we figured out a way through some fat manipulation to be able to create a bar that has a huge, dense hazelnut flavor, but also is able to be a bar that's run on a line and wrapped, that sort of thing. So I think that was a bit of a tricky one from a formulation and food science perspective. And you know, I just really felt like we needed to have that bar. Unfortunately, hazelnuts are not the favorite nut of Americans, so it's not our best seller, but it's always it's one that I go to.
Well, are they Californian hazelnuts, or are they from
Europe? They're Oregonian.
Got it.
But previously we were using organic Piedmont hazelnuts, which were a little bit pricey when the hazelnut crisis hit back a few years ago, and the price went up. But yeah, I missed those a little bit, but yeah.
But they were delicious.
And luckily we found this almond grower that does, you know, phenomenal quality. So
cool.
Yeah.
So somebody asked too. So I'm not the only one asking the question. Like,
yeah, sure.
What's your favorite origin? I mean, bean wise.
From a flavor perspective, you know, it might be just because it's so hard to get down there and access these beans anymore. But one of my favorite origins was Venezuela. I went down there a lot with Sharpen Burger. You know, it's such a huge, beautiful country, so diverse. Yeah. You know, the flavors are so diverse. The genetics are
remarkable.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my first origin trip was Venezuela.
Oh wow!
So that would be like 90. I mean, obviously post Chavez. I mean,
yeah.
You know,
right.
90. No, 2000 and probably 5. I don't know. Like it all kind of blends together. But yeah, I mean, Venezuela. Yeah. Venezuela is beautiful, and Venezuela makes me so sad. Right? I mean, like.
Yeah, it's very sad.
You know, like. Yeah. Here's a country that has this wealth of resources, both you know, raw materials, so oil and metals, and this wealth of unbelievable resources in regards to, you know, plants and, and is gorgeous. And it just, I don't want to get too, like, I don't want to go like, we could, if we want to talk about bad stuff, there's lots of bad stuff we can talk about.
Yeah.
Venezuela is just, was an unbelievable experience, my time in Venezuela, and how wonderful the people were, as we got out of Caracas and spent time at plantation and working with farmers and doing stuff. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the genetics are still really pure in a lot of ways. And there's things in Venezuela that, there's some chocolate out there that, was unbelievable when Venezuela was, and now somebody wants to talk about the Democratic Republic of Congo too. It's like, now we're on like the, so like, let's talk about, I mean, and that's the reality of cocoa though, right? I mean, cocoa generally is not grown in regions that are particularly progressive. Is that a good way of putting it?
I mean, I think it's definitely diverse in where it grows, right? But you get a lot of different types of countries, different types of governments, and it's definitely one of the factors that make sourcing challenging. It's one of the things that makes sourcing beautiful. Things like hurricanes, cyclones, can hit, political instability hits, things like Ebola hits in West Africa. Of course, COVID hitting right now is having a huge impact on different countries in a lot of different ways and how they're responding.
Where are we? What season are we in? We're headed into spring.
So
we're headed into a season. Right? I mean, cacao obviously grows year round, but I mean, there's two primary growing seasons, right? I mean, there's now and there's the fall.
Right. And
for the most part.
Yeah, and it's sort of the low season in West Africa, from my understanding right now, and but it's sort of the higher season in a lot of South America, Central America, even, I think.
Right.
And so
both Ecuador's high on that problematic list, right? Guayaquil in particular, right, is the heavily hit part of Ecuador right now. I mean, what do you see is happening? I mean, what's happening with like pricing and for futures for stuff that should be coming out now?
Well, I think it's kind of all over the place, but it's going to be a hard couple of years for everyone probably. Hopefully, we see some stabilization, but and even if the farmers have the cocoa, which they do, it's oftentimes a challenge. It's a challenge to get the cocoa out. Right. So, and it's a challenge to get it to centralized warehousing because there's, regional, policing that's happening, sort of like shelter in place kind of mandates that are being unevenly enforced in different ways in different communities, as some of the things that I've heard recently. And so some farmers aren't even able to take their cocoa to the warehouses to sell it. And get paid. And so that's a huge problem in a lot of parts of, I think, Peru, also, and maybe in Ecuador as well. West Africa right now is the low season, which is, fortunate for a lot of cocoa farmers, but it's also they're not getting any money right now when prices are going, prices for goods are increasing because of scarcity and other things.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because we spent 2 minutes on it. I mean, the world is obviously it's sort of a bit of a messed up place at the moment, right? I mean, I mean, you just mentioned earlier that you're not, so by the way, we got a question about like, how did you end up as president of the board of the FCIA? We'll get to that in a minute. And we have probably less than 10 minutes really to keep talking.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about like how you guys are functioning in this world, right? Because you mentioned before that, you're not seeing each other walking down the halls. So like how you guys are like, who's coming to the office and who's like working in production and, why you're allowed to do that in California, right?
Sure.
I'm in my office too, because we're allowed to do it because we're part of the food chain. And then we'll talk a little bit about this FCIA thing. And then I've got a surprise for you. So I got one thing that I want to do before we go. So we got 9 minutes to do all that now. And
cool.
So let's do how is the world changing how you guys are doing business?
Wow. Yeah, it's it's a big one, and I think it's yet to be seen. Right now, for Cho, we have a lot of things that are going really well. We have a lot of other things that are unknowns and challenges. For us, we're distributed and sold in a lot of retailers throughout the U.S. Not a lot. We're still a very small company, but we have.
Though somebody asked before, are you distributed in Qatar? Is it Qatar or Qatar? I never know.
Oh yeah.
Are you in the Middle East?
We're not. No.
No Cho in the Middle East.
Yeah. Well, not that I know of anyway.
Got it.
We did have someone send us a picture from the Philippines one time, and it was a supermarket shelf with Cho on it, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize we took it there, but apparently somebody was buying it and taking it in their suitcase and selling it to a supermarket. So anyway, that's pretty cool. Maybe it's found its way there somehow, but yeah. But anyway, the challenges are many, super diverse. We have an amazing team, amazing production team that I'm just grateful for every day. They've been going in, every week and continuing to manufacture. It's everywhere in here where we are in Berkeley, California. And the surrounding, California is just is shelter in place right now. So, we have, it's an essential food, essential business, and so yeah, really grateful for them coming in. I'm going in a few days a week, kind of thing. Tasting chocolate, that sort of thing, but. Obviously Cho does sell a good chunk of our business to restaurants, right. And we're obviously that's
is something we haven't even talked about, right? So one of the things that's really different about your business model from a lot of other bean to bar business models. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're a little bigger than your normal bean to bar, but you sell chocolate to both retail. I mean, there's a consumer retail side, yep. And there's a wholesale sort of business to business side, right?
Yeah.
Which is
exactly.
Which is something that you guys do really differently. Which means presumably you're also kind of getting beat up a little bit about that side of the business is not doing particularly well.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's shifting in its nature. I mean, I think there's things like bakeries who are selling to right. Direct to consumer, or who are selling to retailers. They've actually picked up quite a bit. So there's it's not just one or another. It's definitely it's been coming in differently, and it's also so new, right? It just really this whole thing. It feels like we've been going on for a year now, but it's really just a couple months. So it's yet to be seen. And I think right now we're just trying to think about how can we support those industries? How can we help our chef partners and others in the community? And it's not easy, but also thinking through FCIA stuff. It's like how can FCIA help bring people together? How can we share resources? How can we help each other through these times? Because it's not likely going to be over anytime soon, and we might as well get moving on adjustment.
Right.
So,
right, which is the FCIA thing, and I can give the answer about how do you become president of a volunteer organization, because you're a sucker,
yeah.
Right? No, I mean,
yeah,
right.
No.
I mean, you've been involved in the FCIA for a long time. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And as you've been on committees, and I'm now on the education committee, which you also actively participate in. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that rise is because you do have a lot of knowledge about both sides of the industry, both from a bean to bar side and the more confection side, and mm-hmm. From what I've seen, Brad, you were able to bring people together and have really great conversations and make things work. I mean, that would be my reason that you're doing that.
Yeah, well,
and you're clearly a sucker because
I'm definitely a sucker. Yeah.
I'm about to give up a presidency of a local not-for-profit here in Buffalo.
Okay.
And I'm counting the days. It's like I have 28 more days. I had June 1st, right?
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's people that have passion for something.
It's
take that role because we're passionate about it, right? I mean, we do that because we do care.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it's a lot of it is just kind of bring together other people that do care as well. So that's a huge part of it, and and it's really, I mean, even just since the FCIA started, it's been unbelievable how this whole thing has grown, right? I mean, the craft chocolate,
Right.
the fine chocolate, artisan chocolate, whatever you want to call it, both the confectionery side and the, you know, the bean to bar side has just been, you know, maybe it hasn't grown as fast as we have all anticipated or expected or hoped, but, you know, I think it still has a huge, you know, huge future. And so to be, you know, helping in any way with that is exciting
Right.
to me personally. And, you know, I just love to bring people together and, you know, kind of make things happen. So it's definitely easier said than done though. So, I appreciate your helping with the FCIA and others, and anyone on this or who sees this, please, please know that we are a volunteer organization. Love to, you know, anybody's offered to help or volunteer in any way, we're excited. So thank you.
Because being president of an organization of that is like herding cats.
Yes, and I'm a cat myself for sure. So
yeah, I'm a bit of one too. So
yeah.
like, sorry that you put me on a committee.
Yeah.
Sorry that like I volunteered. Sure, I'll do that. That sounds great.
Right. Right.
Okay, so are you back in Philly much? Do you ever get back to Philly anymore? Is anybody there
yeah,
anymore?
Yeah, I've got well, my brother's in DC, but yeah, a lot of it's cousins, you know, back there, a lot of friends and stuff.
Where do you get the cheesesteak?
Well, you know, I grew up in Abington, just north of the city, and there's a Lee's Hoagie House there. So I'm sort of partial to going to Lee's, and that's my spot. So, but you know, all those things are like, you know, worlds ahead of anything you can get in California. So I don't complain, you know. But a good
you can
song,
get like a wheatgrass tofu.
Yes,
something.
I definitely miss the
cool.
I miss the shopping carts filled with soft pretzels. I don't know if they do that anymore. I haven't seen it in a while, but
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, on your way to the vet to see the Phillies play.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
And somebody put up gyms. I'm not a gyms guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a D'Alessandro's guy, but
okay.
You know, I went to school in Roxborough and East Falls, and my dad grew up in my dad was from East Falls. I lived in Mount Airy, so
okay.
it was kind of in the middle. But
I would not complain about any of those. So. Yeah.
So so I warned you I was going to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh, so, yes. It's
the Hooters.
Yes.
And it's all you zombies.
All you zombies. Love it.
Because like all this technology, and I can have all this great stuff on this device, and I have a mid-'80s Philadelphia band.
Love it.
You know, it's kind of a really long intro though. Like I need to get. Like, I don't know if I can get to the meat of the song.
Hey, we've got time, right?
No, we got like 1 minute. So
beautiful.
From the Nervous Night album, which I had on vinyl.
I love it.
Look at those outfits.
Like,
those outfits are awesome.
Oh, amazing.
You know, they're still around. They still they play down the shore every year.
Amazing.
You know, from what I hear.
As they should. As they should.
Where else would you play other than Atlantic City? You know. Hey, Brad, this has been awesome.
Yeah, Brian, great to chat,
spending
man.
like an hour with us, and
I love it. Thanks
this is your ability to plug whatever you want to plug, and then I get to plug what I want to plug. So you're going to plug Cho Chocolate.
Cho Chocolate.
And chochocolate.com.
Yeah, cho.com. Cho.com. Yeah, and
cho.com, and the Instagram is.
chochocolate.com or just Cho Chocolate, yeah, and
right,
and then again, anybody who's you know, interested in helping out the Fine Chocolate Industry Association, please reach out. Whether you're a company or a blogger or anything, we welcome anything. So really appreciate
we're looking for
it.
we're really trying to figure out how to do the educational mandate when we can't get together, right? And
right.
so you know, that's been the topic. I mean, like, and I think that's for us. This is like one of the reasons that we're doing this is really that. Introducing people to people in our industry that we may not know real well,
right?
You know, and so I really appreciate spending time with us. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're coming over from the Cho Instagram page, it's Tomrick is our Instagram page, Tomrick Systems, I think. I have my own Instagram page. It's Brian Donaghy, and then Tomrick.com. You know, if you want to talk about equipment, and we're working too. Our sales team's working from home, but our production people are working here, so I'm one of those guys, and that's how I'm coming into work every day.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But
I'll have to follow up with you on that machine we were chatting about. So
for TCHO.
Yes, for CC. Yep, exactly.
Last question.
Yeah.
Favorite Philly?
Mike Schmidt. Only because when he retired, it was the first time I saw my dad cry. So.
No, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, I'm not there. Like, for me, it's either Schmidt or Carlton, and I never know.
I think Carlton was my personal favorite. My dad's was Schmidt, so.
Yeah, lefty.
Yeah.
And Tug McGraw, and like the 1980 thing. And you were probably a little young because I was young.
I met Tug McGraw actually when I was in 3rd grade. Yeah, met him. Great guy.
Like, I still believe the Phillies, are always going to win the World Series. So
someday.
Anyway, that was my timer going off to tell me we got to wrap this up.
All right.
So thanks, dude.
Thanks
we'll talk
so
soon.
much. Yeah.
We'll be on the conference call in like 3 weeks about.
I know. I love it.
So.
Beautiful. All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Brad. Peace.